What's going on, Niner fam? It is Peter Lucas. This is the Niner Fanatic Podcast, and it's kind of a bittersweet day. It's really nothing to even laugh about at this point. And unfortunately, like we did get the win today. 49ers got the win 27 to they beat the Seahawks today 27 to 7, and it like I said, it's a bittersweet day because Trey Lance, our quarterback of the future, that's what everybody proclaimed. He was the quarterback of the future. Went down with a apparent ankle injury, and it looks like, it looked really bad. Let's put it that way. He's going to miss a significant amount of time. We're assuming that he's out for the season. Of course, I'm sure we're going to get a lot more news on that tomorrow, but the reality is it was bad. And unfortunately, I think all of us were really looking forward to this game to really see what the offense, now that we're not going to play in a monsoon, what the offense was capable of. And we thought that, we were just gonna get to see what Trey had, like he was actually going to be able to apply all the things he had learned in the off season. And of course, we're expecting bumps and bruises along the way, that kind of stuff. We fully expected him to be running the ball. I don't think that any of us were prepared for how he was going to be running the ball and the amount of times that he was going to be running the ball. Now, granted, he got 3 carries in it was only 2 series. He was in the middle of his second series when he went down. But you have to look at it as it's the way that he was running the ball. And I said this on my last pod. I did not want to see a bunch of QB power, him running up the middle. And the play that he got injured on wasn't necessarily QB power because it was a read option. But at the same time, he still ended up running the ball up the middle, and you're still putting him in harm's way over and over and over and over again. They did it a bunch of times, and to the point to where, and I said it on my last podcast, so let's not say that this is hindsight, it's 2020, but I said it on my last podcast, is that a couple of those runs last week felt uncomfortable. They were driving him into the ground. He was taking massive hits. And when you run somebody up the middle, they have to take a whole bunch more punishment than a franchise quarterback probably should. And now everybody's going to look to Josh Allen and say, oh, well, Josh Allen, look at Josh Allen's able to. Josh Allen is a bigger guy. He looks like a bigger guy than Trey. That's first off. Second off, last game, it looked when Josh Allen was playing the Rams, that looked uncomfortable to me, him taking all those shots. So it is what it is. Josh Allen got out of it. Trey Lance didn't. And now here we are. We're back with Jimmy, and we're going to still root for this team. We are 49er fans. We are still just because one player goes down, and just because it's the player that we all wanted to see, and just because we thought that we had gotten that the Jimmy era was over, just because of that doesn't mean we stop rooting for the team. And I would challenge anyone that says differently. We're not going to. Do I agree with the decision making and the play calling? No, I don't. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't but everybody's saying, oh, well, you can't blame Shanahan. Okay, well, he's the one calling the plays. He's the one putting him in harm's way. Yes, it absolutely is football, but I was still waiting for them to call the Jimmy offense. That's really what I wanted to see, is them call the Jimmy offense and see how Trey played out of the Jimmy offense. That's not what happened. Kyle thought that it would be best for him to learn how to throw by running him into walls. And like I just said a few minutes ago, you could say hindsight is 2020, but I thought that he would have learned his mistake, because this almost exact same thing happened to RG3. But apparently we didn't learn. Apparently, he did not learn. He thought, oh, well, Trey's a little bit bigger than RG3, so it should be okay. It wasn't. So that's where we're at. And I'm not gonna, this isn't gonna be a podcast about just kind of complaining the whole time. I'm not gonna do it. But what I am gonna say is that we are now in we are in another spot where we have Jimmy all year. I encourage all the 49er fans to cheer on this team like their life depends on it. And we are going to ride with Jimmy till the wheels fall off. Because if he goes down, then we're stuck with Brock Purdy. I don't know how that's going to look. but but really, like, before we get into all of it, I appreciate everybody that came in and watched, and that it ends up commenting, and that, and honestly, I appreciate everybody listening, but please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, make sure that you tell your friends about the podcast, because that's what we're going for. We're going for growth. And the but let's just start it off. Let's just start it off with Jimmy. And the 49ers win the game, like I said, 27-7. Sounds like a really good game by the 49ers. And it sounds like it was dominant. That's what it sounds like. Um, but who's like how did they get though? How did they get to the 27 is a little bit, if you really look at it, it's a little bit murky. They got a couple of, normally the 49ers, when they're on the other end of the penalty bug. And in this game, I believe Seattle had 9 penalties. They did the exact same thing that the 49ers did in the last game against Chicago. And it killed them. Like, pass interference penalties kind of led them down the field. Jimmy actually threw the ball down the field, you guys. And it was surprising, but then if you looked at the balls that he threw, it wasn't surprising, because none of those balls really had a chance of being completed, I don't think. Maybe the one to Ayuk towards the end of the game, but even that it really wasn't. They didn't really have a chance of being completed. But it was about you do those things to make chances for you, to make opportunities for your team. And that's what happened. And that's what we had really been begging Jimmy to do for years. For years, is just throw the ball downfield. Even if you don't complete the pass, good things can happen. And that's what happened. It led them down the field. They were able to capitalize on those. It was still hard getting the ball into the end zone. Like the one that Juszczyk got the touchdown, that wasn't that difficult. But everyone after that was difficult. It was difficult getting the ball in. And I don't know what Shanny kind of has against play action in those situations, but he refuses to call play action in those situations. I don't know if it said he didn't trust Jimmy, or because he didn't trust Trey either, but he just refuses to call a play action. So they just kept running the ball into running backs into a wall until they finally just kind of broke through with I guess the offensive line was just good enough to get them in. But the reality is it took a lot more plays. Nothing was ever looked easy. I guess is my point to all of it. But so, how big of a blow is it that Trey is out and Jimmy's in? I don't know how much of a blow it was going to be this year, because obviously, to me, Kyle did not trust Trey to throw the ball. I mean, that to me, that's the way it looked. Like, it looks like he just doesn't trust him to throw the ball. And not just throw the ball, but out of simple play action, it just seems like everything has to be difficult in the play calls. And I think that's what was kind of surprising to me this season so far, is that everything seems to me like Kyle was trying to figure out how to call plays and how to build a flow. And I just don't understand why we couldn't do the same things that similar to what we did last year which is just build off the run and use play action off of the run game. I'm not understanding why it was so difficult. Why it's so difficult for it's almost like he never wants to show too much, like he's always saving something for later. And because he goes from vanilla to some exotic motion play, then it'll be 5 more plays of vanilla, and then one random exotic play. It's just weird in my estimation. It goes against a lot of what we see around the league, and not that I expect Kyle to be like everybody else, but I just feel like he doesn't take the easy stuff. He just doesn't make anything easy on any of his players. And it can be frustrating watching, because you're expecting one thing and, oh, we got this, and then, oh, I guess we don't. It's not going to be that simple. But how big of a blow is it that Trey is out and Jimmy's in? I don't know that it's really that big of a blow for this season, because, like I said, I don't think that Trey was trusted by Kyle. I don't think that, and I still don't think Kyle trusts Jimmy. I know that the narrative for the next week is going to be, oh, see what happened, 27-7. Jimmy came in and saved the season, and all that kind of stuff. I'm just here to tell you that's a bunch of nonsense. That's a bunch of nonsense. This team is stacked, and I was really looking forward to seeing what Trey could do with it. But Jimmy is going to be Jimmy. I hope that I see more of him throwing down the field, because if he's going to do that, then I think that goes against a lot of the reasons why a lot of people didn't necessarily want him. It was because of the refusal to throw deep. So it may not be as big of, maybe Trey is what Jimmy needed to push him to do things out of his comfort zone. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. And I'll be really interested to see how this all unfolds, because now Jimmy doesn't have anybody looking over his shoulder. Trey's not waiting in the wings. Now he just has Brock Purdy, and they're probably going to sign another guy off the street. Like, I think that they worked out a guy that used to play for Green Bay a few days ago. So I would not be surprised if they brought him in to be the third stringer. But yeah, like, Jimmy doesn't have anybody looking over his shoulder. Well, now what I fear is that, because Jimmy's gotten hurt every single year. He's gotten hurt every single season. He's been hurt in some capacity. So, and even last year, he was supposed to be the guy, and Trey still had to come in for what, 2.5 games? So now you're talking about having Brock Purdy for 2.5 games, if that happens. And so I'm interested to see what happens. I'm still excited for football. We are 1-1 as 49er fans. So be happy about the win, but we can absolutely feel for Trey and his injury. I feel bad for the kid, because I really think that he thought that this was going to be his moment to shine, and it just didn't turn out that way. So, but get better soon, Trey. We hope you a speedy recovery, and yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to him seeing what he can do next year. But we're in the now. We're moving on to week 3. But so whose fault is it that Trey is out for the season? Is it anybody's fault? I wouldn't say it's anybody's fault per se. Now, I would say that looking at the situation, I think that there is some blame to be put on Kyle for not treating Trey like a quarterback and just treating him like a running back. You can say that. That's perfectly valid criticism. But it is fault that Trey got hurt. I don't know that, I think that anybody can get hurt on any given play, so you can't really say it's his fault. But if you run a guy up the gut constantly, instead of just letting his athleticism speak for itself when he needs it, and not when you want it it's a two completely different things in my estimation. So, but how did the offense do after Trey went out? I mean, they didn't really do anything spectacular. I mean, Jimmy had 150 yards passing. I mean, he didn't do anything spectacular. Of course, as soon as he came in, the national media was kind of, oh well, now they're gonna see an uptick in passing plays, and like Jimmy, like Trey, Jimmy was always a trusted veteran. Look, Kyle did not trust Jimmy last season. People need to understand Jimmy's not going to throw the ball more than 20 to 25 times a game. It's not going to happen. That hasn't changed. So now the onus is going to be on, it's going to be back on. We're going back to the Debo show, in my estimation. And we're going to go back to Debo this, Debo screen. Now, what I did like seeing was that he really tried to get the ball to Ayuk a lot, a few times, like a lot for Jimmy, and throwing the ball downfield. That was a new wrinkle that we haven't seen. Now, granted, he didn't really complete any of those. The ones that he completed were the short to intermediate ones. He completed the first couple that he threw the boundary. I don't think the defense was expecting him to throw to the boundary at all. So, but hey, it's just really. I don't think that I think we're going to see the same offense that we saw last year. That's basically what I'm saying. So, uh, and I got Brian saying, "Damn, I wanted us to get Jimmy, not now." Yeah, it ain't happening now, Brian. Like, sorry, we're riding it till the wheels fall off, and I appreciate you, Brian. It was a rough day today. Another rough day in football. Like, there was a lot of stuff going on today in the NFL, and I mean, it just goes to show you that the NFL, you just don't know. You never know. You never know what's going to happen. It never plays out the way that the media draws it up, that the coaches draw it up, that the fans draw it up, that what we think is going to happen. It never happens that way. Never. There is very rarely ever a time when we can say, oh, this team for sure is going to do this, and this is how they're going to do it. It's never. That's not the way football works. So why we even thought that was going to happen, I don't know. And you are right, Brian. Any given Sunday. But yeah, it is what it is. But let's get back to so what do we, like I said, what do we expect going forward? I expect the full-on Jimmy G offense. I think they're going to run the ball 35. I want to say they're going to try and get to 40 carries a game. That's what's going to happen. That's what we're going to see. They're going to try and run the ball 30 to 40 times a game and try and limit Jimmy's throws to a minimum. I would love to see this new wrinkle of throwing the ball downfield to continue by Jimmy. Not because he's like, I think he's going to complete them, but because I want to see it, because exactly what happened in this game. It causes opportunities. We got a couple of PI penalties, and that's what happens when you're able to take shots is teams, especially when you have talent like the 49ers have. Those guys are going to get open. Ayuk was burning whoever was on him. He was getting free release. He was getting releases like crazy. And yeah, I mean, it is what it is. That the guy, I believe Jackson is his name. Jackson is his name. The corner that kept having to guard him. He had nothing for Ayuk. The only thing he could do was put his hands all over him and try to tackle him every time the ball came near him. So that's what you're going to get a lot of. And he's a big physical. Jackson is a big physical corner. So not every corner is going to be that physical, and it's going to look, I think that there's going to be more opportunities in this offense to do some other things. And Jimmy, it's about, can Jimmy make the passes, and will he at least try to stretch the field so that we can keep the them from putting 8 and 9 men in the box so that they can't just control the run, because that's really why we got Trey in the first place, was because they couldn't. Eventually with Jimmy, they were just going to stack the box, and they were going to dare him to throw to complete passes. So it is what it is. This is what we can expect going forward. The same stuff that we saw last year. But how did the O line look? Now that is a question that I was really pleasantly surprised by. It was it was really it was really the like, I thought they looked really good in my estimation. I know that the running backs didn't have a ton of offensive yards, but I mean, they got Jeff Wilson for what, 4.7 yards a carry, and it was TDP's turn to only get 2.4, uh, but I mean, Trey had like over 5 yards a carry. Debo had, where is he? Debo had 50. He had 13.3 yards a carry off of four carries, and one of them was just a long run. It was a long run. He got a majority of his yards on, but uh, yeah, they opened some holes. And even for TDP, who didn't have a good average, the it was apparent that they were opening holes, and if they can just loosen that keep that 8 or 9 men out of the box, like, I could see this offensive line really progressing. And even in the pass game, I was really kind of surprised that now, of course, there was a couple of breakdowns in pass protection, but I expected that, especially when they were started just dropping back in passing. But but I was really pleasantly surprised by how well this offensive line held up in the passing game. And granted, he didn't complete a whole bunch of passes. I think Jimmy went 13 to 21, 154 yards, but one touchdown. But I thought it was a solid performance. I'm really kind of interested to see what the PFF grades. Everybody can't wait to dial up the PFF grades. I really can't wait to hear what some of the other content creators have to say about that, like Brad Graham. Big shout out to Brad and Rich Madrid. I can't wait to hear some of the tape breakdown, because I'm not a tape guy, but they're tape guys, and I defer to the experts as far as that kind of stuff goes. But from a fan's perspective, I thought they did pretty well. And so I'm kind of interested to see how this, and I said in my last pod that it's going to take time for this line to gel together. I thought Brendel looked pretty good as a center, except for the fumble. The fumble, and it was a bad fumble too. But like I said, it's a work in progress. You got to give these guys time to, offensive lines take time to gel. And but I thought overall they looked really good. I saw Aaron Banks getting really excited on a few plays. I got that got me pumped. So yeah, I thought that it was really I thought it was a really good performance overall by the offensive line. Now, moving on to the just the running game overall. Will Jordan Mason ever get a shot? I mean, I know that TDP is your third round pick. I get it. But Jeff Wilson is not. And granted, he had a good game today. He had 4.7 yards a carry. I get it. He's still mid to me. Just because he had one good game where they were opening caverns for this guy to run through. I just want to see Jordan Mason. Maybe I'm selfish. I want to see Jordan Mason get a shot. But the running game to me looked solid. These running backs looked solid. We're still not seeing screens to the running back. We're still not seeing any swing passes to the running backs. I don't know. It's just weird for a team that wants yak and like all the other stuff. I just feel like they don't try to involve their running backs in that at all in the passing game, and it's just weird to me. But yeah, it's like, but the running game overall, I thought it looked pretty solid. Now, this is a really good question. What do the 49ers do with all the weapons they have at the wide receiver position now? Because they've got all these. You got your McLeod, who's a really quick guy. You got Danny Gray, who's a burner, who got visibly frustrated today because Jimmy missed him on a couple of shots where he thought he was open, and but you got Debo, you've got Ayuk, you've got Jennings, who let me mention Jennings for a second, because this guy is this is exactly who we want at that spot. He was just really frustrating the secondary today, just blocking his behind off, and it was really there was a couple of ones where he should have gotten them to throw a couple of flags, because on the one the guy threw him by his face mask. So I don't know where the flag was on that one, but I mean, I guess that they figured the Seahawks had already like gotten enough flags already. I don't know, but yeah, that should have been a flag too. But I loved seeing what Jennings does in the run game, but they've got all this talent at wide receiver, and it seems to me that they're going to be complacent with getting the ball to Debo on short crossers and screen plays and running him out of the backfield. And then Ayuk is going to get the occasional slant and crosser. And then they took a couple of shots, which I was surprised. I hope they keep doing that with Debo, but it's the same old stuff. It's kind of the same old stuff. But now that leaves out the dynamic portion that we were waiting to see this season, which is Danny Gray and Ray McLeod, who's more of a traditional slot, but the guy has speed and like shiftiness. I'm interested they might find a way to get these guys involved. I hope they do, because I think that this team this offense really has a chance to be dynamic, and I'm hoping that they can find a way to continue that potential with Jimmy. But we'll see. Does Jimmy keep throwing it deep? Yeah. I don't know. It's just something we haven't seen from him. And granted, we got the penalty call, but they're not going to always give us the penalty on that. But I just like the fact that he was throwing it deep. And I have another question that I think begs to be answered, because I think that people are getting to the point now where, and I think we saw it all throughout the game, is that people are starting to question Kyle's ability to dial it up and be able, like, you're supposed to be this offensive genius. You're supposed to be this guy that just can get any mismatch he wants at any moment. And it just doesn't seem to be happening. And the run game even looks stale. To me, the run game looks stale. The passing game, even when the guys were having to drop back, whether it be Jimmy, Trey, whoever, they seem to struggle finding open guys. So is Kyle really dialing it up like we think? Now, I'll be interested to see, because like I said, I'm sure that the Rich Madrids and the John Chapmans and all those guys will be breaking down film, and and they'll be able to tell us what happened. And I'll probably come back to this later in the week when I have another guest. But I'm questioning it at this point, because I just think that it was when it was all new and fresh, it looked great. And now that we're 5 years in, going into our 6th year, it doesn't look as fresh. It looks a little stale, and it looks a little, okay, well, we've seen that before. Now you're not even doing the things that you used to do. It just looks kind of stale. And granted, he's not playing for us to approve. That's not what he's That's not why he's calling plays. He's supposed to be calling plays to win the game. And granted, they won 27-7. It kind of sounds like I'm not happy with the win, but I felt like the win was really attributed to one side of the ball in this game. And then the 49ers got a few lucky breaks with the penalties. Just like it would have been like the Bears saying that, oh, well, they just beat us because they were the supreme team. I think a lot of Bears fans know that that wasn't true. And they I don't think they thought that they were the better team. I think that they thought they caught some breaks with the penalties and that the 49ers looked undisciplined in that game, which was the truth. Now, with that being said, the for us, for the 49ers, like in this game, it looked like we looked like we didn't look like the Bears, but we were the Bears in that scenario. Like the Seahawks were giving us the game, and then our defense was lights out. Our defense was lights out in this game. And so it begs the question once again, how is this offense going to look next week? We go against Denver. Like how is this offense going to look going forward? I'm not entirely sure. I think I'm going to be questioning Kyle for a majority of this season. And I want to see what, to me, there's no excuses anymore as to him being able to score points. I want to see points on the board. If I'm a fan of the 49ers, I want to see points on the board. I don't care how you have to do it, like how you have to call it, because there's another aspect to this that I don't think a lot of people are putting XYZ together. Like, look, think about this. We don't have Mike McDaniel here anymore. And I'm not saying that he was the architect, but he might have been that idea man that bounced ideas off of Kyle, and that Kyle kind of ran with some of his ideas. And then maybe Kyle got the credit for calling some of those plays, because we know that Kyle was the play caller, but we also know that Mike McDaniel would send some plays down to him, and he would just have to pick, and he would just pick some of them. So how big of a I'm kind of looking at Kyle a little side-eyed and saying, how big of a piece was Mike McDaniel? We don't know, because they just beat the Ravens today. Miami just beat the Ravens today, came back on them, and granted, Tyreek Hill was just running by guys, but I mean, I don't know. Like, I think there's a lot of there's a lot of questions to be answered this season, and I'm expecting to see points. That's all I'm saying. Now, I'm going to get back to the defense now, because I thought that the defense was the one part of this game, and to be kudos to D'Amico Ryans for his game plans. I would have never known that we weren't at full strength on defense. It was, I mean, I can't imagine this defense looking any better, to be honest. Like the defense, can they continue to dominate like this? I'm interested to see, because I'll say for next week they go against the Denver Broncos. I mean, like, they've struggled on offense. So can this defense continue to just, the defensive line is dominating at the line of scrimmage. The secondary is, I mean, these corners are being physical. They're taking advantage of, they had another 2 picks today. Like this defensive line was dominating the line of scrimmage, and they only had 2 sacks. I said in my last pod that I thought that they would end up with like 6 or 7 in this game, because I didn't think that Geno was anything. Now, granted, I do want to make sure that I say this. I mean, I was wrong about Geno. I think that Geno is a serviceable, like, he looked pretty decent for what he was going up against. And now, Grant, he's got weapons, but the reality is this man he only got sacked twice, and granted, he had two picks, like, but it could have been much worse. And I think it will be worse for some of these other quarterbacks. And I thought that he made some pretty nice plays. I was pretty surprised by it. I'll be honest with you. I thought that this was going to be a stinker as far as the defense goes. But I was really pleasantly surprised by the defense, the defense's discipline in this one. They completely flipped the switch compared to last game. Um, Bosa, this man was dominant, dominant, and it was it was crazy. But but yeah, Josh, I blasted the Seahawks. It's it was I was really surprised. I was really surprised by how their defense is not far away. Their defense is not far away in my estimation. They have some problems in coverage because we did have some open guys out there, but I would say that but their defensive line is stout. I like their defensive line, and they've got some problems at linebacker in my estimation. But I was surprised. I was surprised, and they so I'm gonna answer this one. Peter, talk about what it was like for the defense to not play in a monsoon. What it was like to watch a game that wasn't being played in a month. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Josh. It's really it was shocking the level of the stranglehold that this defense had on this game. Like there was never a threat of that they were going to, like in the last game, they kept giving a penalty would keep the drive going, and that's how they kept going. No, this defense was getting off the field, and they kept giving it back to the offense, saying, "Hey, do something with it, do something with it," and yeah, that we controlled the time of possession. I mean, we dominated time of possession today. So it was a really good showing by the defense. I have nothing bad to say about the defense. And but I guess I have a question of, will teams be wary of throwing the ball into coverage? Do you think that's going to be an issue going forward? And it's because this team, I think that today Seattle was scared to hold the ball longer than 2 seconds. And so he was just throwing it to spots, and guys just Huff was everywhere. So it was just really, it was a hard day. It would have been a hard day for any quarterback back there, I think. And I thought that their offensive line held up well against our defensive line, like on the edges. But then they started stunting Bosa inside, and that was a wrap. They had nobody inside for Bosa. Bosa was just running free. And it was Bosa and Drake. We had Drake Jackson sign. I was kind of hoping that they gave him half of that last Bosa sack, but they didn't. But it is what it is. But do we think that there's going to be coverage sacks in this team's future? I think it's always been the defensive line kind of dominating and trying to not make the secondary have to cover as long. I think that it might be the other way around this season. And if that's the case, it's going to be really hard to play against this team if that's going to be the case. These teams are going to be praying. They're going to be praying for bad weather. They're going to be praying for rain, praying for snow. That's what's going to happen. Because nobody's going to want to have to face this defensive line, this defense in general. So, but my next question is, Hufanga a star? Is that kid a star already? It's only 2 games in, but is he a star? I'm not quite ready to call him a star yet, but he's got star tendencies. This kid is everywhere, and he just has a nose. He has a nose for the ball. He not only does he have a nose for the ball, but he just has, instincts isn't really the word. I'm kind of tired of people talking about his instincts, because that's just a way of saying that he's not athletic enough to be to make plays on the ball. He has I think he's shown he's flying everywhere. The guy has got, I mean, all I see is speed out of this kid. And he has the smarts to know where the ball is going to go, and he gets there as quickly as possible. And he's going with bad intentions. That's what I want to, that's the new thing that I want to hear about Hufanga is I don't want to so much hear about his instincts. I want to hear about the bad intentions that he comes through with, because he's trying to hit people hard and he's trying to set a tone. And granted, we didn't have that many big hits in this game with him. I think he only had 6 tackles, or he had 5 solos, but I think he had 6 tackles total. And he didn't have a pick, but he had a pick go right through his hands. And but yeah, the guy is just crazy. But Josh asks, what how good does the Jimmy G signing feel now? Yeah, I said it in my prior podcast. I felt good about it at the time because of this very reason. I was wondering at the time how Kyle was going to call the games, and not saying that I knew Trey Lance was going to get hurt, but I was really having 2 starting caliber quarterbacks is not a bad thing. I don't think it was about the locker room. I never thought it was about the locker room. I thought that, and now everybody's going to take the video of everybody high-fiving Jimmy like they were supposed to not high-five Jimmy. Like they're gonna take all the positivity away from like how people were acting with Jimmy to say that, hey, like that they were never in on Lance and like blah, 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 blah. No, hello, they've got a whole season to get through. What are they supposed to act like? Oh, they're God. I'm just pissed that I have to have Jimmy for the rest of the season. No, they're not going to do that. They still like the guy. Like, I mean, what are we doing? Like, why do people feel the need to make things more than they are? The reality is that we were lucky enough to be in the situation to where we had 2 starting level quarterbacks, because I still think Jimmy is a starting level quarterback in this league. We were lucky. And now, granted, Jimmy came in, he did the bare minimum to get the job done. And look he did the bare minimum and we won 27-7. Now, next game. Now let's move on to the next game. Let's see what happens in the next game. He may not look as good, or he may look better. We don't know. But I would say that I'm way happier that we have Jimmy than if we didn't. Because Brock Purdy being in there right now, or Nate Sudfeld, I don't think that I would be as confident going into the next game. Now it just seems like we went back to last year, right? So, and Josh also asked, why would 49ers fans feel miserable if the team started 5-3 or 6-2? We're still in first place, but had to do it because of their stud defense. I don't think so. I think I think the majority of people wanted Trey to be the quarterback. And while they were doing it, if they were 5-3 or 6-2, like in the beginning, and Trey was the quarterback and he wasn't putting up gaudy stats, I don't think people would care. They would just say, "Oh, well, it was a good decision to have Trey starting." Now, and the same thing goes for Jimmy. Like when they're sick, if they're 6-2, 5-3, and Jimmy starting, then the narrative is going to be, see, they should have just went with Jimmy all along. That's the nature of the beast. It's the nature of the beast, the nature of the business. They're like, we're going to have to deal with the national media. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. So it is what it is. One more from Josh before we get out of here. If it isn't a rock star offense, can you see a 49ers fan be happy? I think that we're going to be happy with wins. I think 49er fans are always happy with wins, just like every franchise's fans. I think that, like, if they're winning, it's not going to matter how they're doing it. They just want the victory. Now, granted, the guys like us that are sitting there and we've just been thirsting and salivating for offense for years. Like we're going to want to see offense. I just said it a little bit ago. I want to see points. I don't care how you do it. I want to see points. That's what I want to see, Kyle. I'm looking at you right in the camera. Like, I want to see points. That's what I want. So it is what it is. Like, but fans are gonna be your regular fans are gonna be perfectly fine with just getting wins until they're not getting wins. And then when they're not getting wins, then it'll be about the offense, and it'll be about, because I think this defense is going to be dominant all year. So I think it's going to be about the offense and how, oh, like I think that they're just going to turn on Shanny. That's what I think is going to happen, because I think we saw a little bit of it today already. And it's, I mean, Shanny's got to be ready for this. He's got to be ready for it, because he's got to know that people like being called the offensive guru. There's some weight and some yeah, there's some expectations that go along with that. We want to see points. You got all these bells and whistles and great players on offense. We want to see points, man. Like, period. So it is what it is. Um, but but I want to get back to Hafanga real quick, because this kid, I think that he is, like, we've got Fred Warner. He's a captain. Like, he's really the leader of this defense. And and then we've always had Tart and Ward in the safeties, and that as safeties. And then you had at one time we had Sherman as a corner. But we've always had those linchpin guys. I think we found another linchpin, because we've already had Bosa, we got Fred, we've got Aziz, who played his behind off last year. You had, I mean, even Emmanuel Mosley played his behind off last year when he was getting the opportunity and when he wasn't hurt. Um, and then you had the other guys on the defensive line, the Eric Armsteads, and now Kinlaw's really showing out, just wrecking up the middle of the line. But talent, Hafanga, there's the feeling of this kid that's just, he's special. He's special. I think. Now, I said I don't want to call him a star yet, because you got to earn that. You got to earn that. But I just have a feeling. I have a feeling about this kid. He's special. He's special. Just keep your eye, if you can, because he's just flying all over the place. He's going so fast. But keep an eye on that kid. Like, I'm really kind of, I wasn't high on the pick, because it seemed like he was too slow to be a safety and too little to be a linebacker, and I thought he was a tweener. Thankfully, they don't listen to me. Like, so it is what it is. But Hafanga seems to be like on the right trajectory, and I think that it's another good 49er pick. And I think we're all witness. I think that they hit on Burford. I'm really even surprised at I'm really surprised that Brendel's okay. So it is what it is. But what do you think this defense looks like when Ward gets back? What do you think this defense looks like when Ward gets back? Because I mean, I can't imagine them looking any better than they did today. Now, I think that they'll need Ward at some point, but Tashawn Gibson did not look bad. And I'm sure, but just because I said that, some PFF grade will say that he had like a 40 points. I don't really care. That his weaknesses were not glaring in this game. Well, let's say that. And so I just look at this, and how do you get, I just wonder how do you, like, what does he do? How is he going to stick out in this defense? Because, like I said, Sean Gibson didn't look bad in this game. So now, what do you do better when Ward gets back? I mean, it's a good problem to have, no doubt. But it's now, I think that's the next thing that we've got to look forward to. And we probably got at least another 2 games, if not more, before we see him, because they're not, until they look like there's a weakness in that secondary, he ain't coming back. He ain't coming. They're going to wait till he's 110% healthy. So yeah, just don't be him back at the after the fourth game. I'm not even expecting anything. As long as they look good in this next game, yeah, I'm not necessarily expecting him back. But this is another good question that I thought up, which was, is Womack's name not being called the best thing? Because we didn't hear anything. Now, granted, it could have been that, you know, the Bears, we went up against the Bears. The Bears barely had two good wide receivers. Then you've got, and then we play up against the Seahawks, which they have their bookends in Tyler Lockett and DK. But I will say they put Lockett in the slot a lot, and we didn't really hear too much about out of Lockett. Now, I want to, and maybe I wasn't noticing him. I mean, he still had nine catches for 107 yards, but I'll say that, like, off of 11 targets, but it was a quiet 107. That had to be the quietest 107 yards I've ever seen. Like, because it just felt like he wasn't getting hit. DK had 4 catches. He only had 35 yards. And I think he was trying to act like he was banged up. I don't know that he was banged up. I think that he just couldn't get open. Like, and they were really physical with him. So it's if that's what they're going to do to guys, just make it seem like, okay, well, they're getting some stats, but they're not even really visible, then yeah, like, I mean, it's going to be a long season for offenses going against the 49ers. But so we've got our last game. We've got our last game again, or we've got our next game against the Denver Broncos, and this is a game against our boogeyman, Russell Wilson. So it's really, what do we see out of this game? I have no idea, because they started coming on. That team seems to come on late, and Russell Wilson just really hasn't really impressed. He hasn't really impressed at all to me. But that team just really hasn't impressed me at all. They didn't do so bad against the run. They do have good corners. I feel like they do have a good secondary, but the I don't feel any kind of way about Denver right now. I thought that they were going to be really good, and it could be that they just need more time to gel. There's a lot of new pieces on that team too. Like, but I don't know. I'm going to wait and watch some tape of them this week, and I'm going to get back to you guys probably on Wednesday. But hey, thank you everybody that watched, that got on here today. CG just asked me the same thing. What do I think of Denver? Like, and thanks for coming in the comments, CG. But yeah, like, what do I think of Denver? I think that they're wishy-washy. I think that their coach is a new head coach, and he's glaringly a new coach. And I don't think that he's even confident in what he's calling and what they're doing from a game plan standpoint. So I'll be interested to watch the tape I'm going to rewatch their first couple of games this week, and I'm going to get back to you guys on Wednesday. But hey, thank you everybody that got in the chat today, Josh, CG, Brian, and yeah, like, is upset as I am about Trey going down, and as upset as I am with the situation, we're still in a good position because they chose to make the move and keep Jimmy. So we still have a starting level quarterback at the QB position, and it is what it is. Now we're riding with Jimmy till the wheels fall off. So don't fret, everybody. Don't freak out. Like, it's at the very least we can go and move back to the way we were doing things last year. And I think because I think this defense is better. I think our weapons are better. I think with that in mind, that this team could be in a good spot. They could really be in a good spot. I, at the very least, think this is still a playoff team, and I'm still looking forward to seeing what happens going forward. But hey, thank you guys for watching. Make sure that you check out the YouTube channel. Go on to Niner Fanatic Podcast YouTube channel and subscribe. please make sure you bang that like button, hit the notification bell, and then also I'm all on all your audio platforms. So if you don't have time to watch the YouTube version, you can always catch me on any of the places where you get your audio podcast. So look me up on any of those. But yeah, thanks for watching today. And as always, go Niners.